Housing is a basic human need, and with urbanization, natural population has been on the rise, and hence the need for shelter by the households is also increasing. Provision of housing has been inadequate due to socio-economic and political factors. This has resulted to an increased gap between demand and supply of housing. The need for urban housing is generally a consequence of a number of factors, which include high urban population growth due to rural-urban migration, natural increase, the lag in the development of infrastructure that supports housing development, low purchasing power of the majority of urban households, poor management and lack of appropriate policies, especially those relating to building bylaws and standards of low-income housing. The government of Kenya unveiled a plan in 2017 to spend 1 trillion Kenya shillings on the construction of over 1 million low-cost homes in major towns by 2022. Large projects like Umoja East in the past have not succeeded to sustain housing for the low-income class. An alternative method of planning is likely to be the mode of organization. Although the government is yet to explain what a low-cost house is, market players define it as a development that costs a maximum of 2 million Kenya shillings to set up. It is a house ideally built for people who earn between 40,000 and 60,000 Kenya shillings a month, and it does not go beyond 3 bedrooms. Urban areas are experiencing high population growth rates than rural areas. Hence, there is a high potential of health and environmental conditions worsening as a result of overcrowding and inadequate facilities. Therefore, there is a need for the public sector to participate more in urban than rural housing development. Despite some attempts at achieving decent housing for Kenyans, the country has on the whole failed to address the dire housing conditions of her population. The situation has been partially alleviated through activities of the private sector housing developers who have been a key supplier of housing, particularly in Nairobi. Compared with other cities around the world and within the country, Nairobi's housing sector is one that is quickly growing. The Kenyan real estate market has historically grown at an exponential rate, as evidenced by its contribution to the country's GDP, which increased from 10.5% in 2000 to 12.6% in 2012 and 13.8% in 2016. Lavington, Kilimani and Kileleshwa contribute the most, with an average rental yield of 9% for unfurnished units and 15% for furnished units. This expansion is being driven by infrastructural developments such as improved rail networks, including the Nairobi Expressway, utility connections, and the upgrade of key airports. Increased demand for real estate property in most urban areas leads to building more housing developments and accelerated growth in supply of property. The government should regulate the real estate market, and since demand is expected to be on the rise, persistent regulatory restrictions on land supply or how intensively land can be used should be put in place. The government should put in place measures to check house price inflation and rental inflation, which can deviate when supply of new housing is slow to respond to changes in the market. The national and county governments should have master plans and zone the city, bearing in mind the needs for housing for its occupants. The county government should amend the available planning laws in order to allow construction of more buildings in the study area. Affordability is key for the thousands of Kenyans looking for an opportunity to own a home. While there was a 1.4% decline in the demand for residential homes in the year 2020, the year 2021 saw various segments of the Kenyan population actively pursue opportunities to own a home. Satellite towns such as Ngong Town continue to attract young and old investors. The infrastructural developments in these towns, characterized by the development of roads, electricity, and other amenities, have made them attractive for potential home owners. The value that urban centers like Nairobi carry is economic priority from the colonial era to the post-colonial era. The unavailability of low-cost residential homes further away from the CBD today may be due to property value being chiefly determined by property location. Long commutes to the city center are less attractive in the eyes of homeowners. Under Nairobi Metro 2030 is the Nairobi Metropolitan Services Improvement Project, which aims to improve the urban services and infrastructure in Nairobi, of which 1.5 million people working in and residing in Nairobi will benefit from. This includes improvements made to urban roads and public transport systems, solid waste collection, sewerage and wastewater treatment, as well as increase the current housing stock of Nairobi's low-income settlements. As part of Nairobi Metropolitan Town Services Improvement Project is the Urban Renewal Project, which is phase 1 of the Nairobi Urban Renewal Program. The goal is to not only create adequate housing but also housing that is affordable and fits the needs of the target group, that is low-income residents. The gap between demand and supply of middle-income housing that is within Nairobi will be ever increasing. To address this issue, both the government and private sector need to work together to help incentivize construction companies to build homes for the middle-income earners as well as enable customers purchase.